This is Special Agent Josh Meade with the Florida Department of Law Enforcement. Today is May 11th, 2012. It's approximately 1:53 p.m. The following will be a sworn recorded interview with Daytona Beach Police Department Officer Josh Mersereau, along with his attorney, Mike Lambert. Also present for the interview is Special Agent Tim Kraft. Officer Mersereau, if you would, raise your right hand for me. Do you swear and affirm the statement you're about to give us is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, sir, I do.
Okay. And we said it before, but we want to say on record that you are here on your own free will. This is a voluntary statement. Is that correct?
Yes, sir, it is.
Do you know that you're able to leave and terminate the interview at any time?
Yes, sir, I do.
Okay. Nobody's compelled you to be here for the purpose of this statement with the Florida Department of Law Enforcement?
That's correct.
Okay. We went over the chain of events in regards to the night of the officer-involved shooting on April 28th earlier, and what we want to do is go back over the events again now that we've got the tape going. In front of you, you have 3 satellite images of the general crime scene area, 2 of those being blown-up views of crime scene 1 and crime scene 2. Could you start where we did before? You said you were in the area of Bellevue and Nova when you heard a call for service over the radio.
Correct. I was at Bellevue and Nova. I heard a call over the radio in reference to a man in a silver Lincoln at the airport who was waving a gun around in the parking lot in the short-term parking area.
Okay, and then several other officers were involved. You'd mentioned J.J. Moran, Warren,
Yep.
And another officer. You're not sure who that was at the time.
No.
And what did you tell them over the radio?
Well, upon our arrival, I told them that I was going to go ahead. I knew there was only one exit out, one in and way out, one out at the airport. So I told them to go on in there, and I'm going to hang out at the exit, and just in case this guy becomes mobile.
Okay. Where were you stationed at the positioning yourself at the time?
I was on Midway, just west of the airport exit. So I don't know if you know where gate 70 is, right there for the Speedway. Yeah, right there in that area.
You'd mentioned some information that you'd received sporadically through the communications center about the situation unfolding there at the airport.
There was sporadic talk in reference to the airport deputies, chasing a man who had a gun in his hand across the parking lot. Now, we weren't privy to all that conversation. It was just coming in sporadically through the dispatcher from another radio channel.
Okay. All right. And then at some point, you fell in behind the suspect Lincoln.
Yeah.
That vehicle, I'm assuming, matched the vehicle description given over the radio. Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. What was the condition of the vehicle?
It had a right rear flat tire. So it was going flat, quick.
And when did you first get behind the vehicle?
Right there at the airport entrance, airport exit.
Okay. All right.
See it here.
Yeah, it's off the map here. But which way did you guys proceed from there?
We proceeded, I guess it'd be north on Midway, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. North on Midway. And then we went east on Richard Petty.
Okay. Did you provide the tag at some point?
Yes, I did. As soon as we made the corner from Midway onto Richard Petty, I went ahead and called the tag out, and I advised the condition of the vehicle.
When did you activate your emergency equipment?
Yes, I did.
When did you do that?
Right as we made the corner just after I called the tag out.
Okay. And about how fast were you in the suspect vehicle going?
Between 20 and 25 miles an hour.
Okay. What happened next?
At that point, I called out with it. We were determining, I'm sure the lieutenant or sergeant was determining on what we had for a crime, whether or not we were going to chase the vehicle. At that point, it got into the vehicle, the silver Lincoln, got into the first curve on Richard Petty from Midway. The driver lost control of the vehicle. It spun around 180 degrees. So at this point, as I'm driving up, the vehicle is now facing me. It's in the median.
Okay. And you described earlier that you were face to face, but also driver door to driver door.
Correct.
With the Lincoln.
Yeah, we were face to face, but we were kind of offset.
Okay.
One vehicle length or so.
About 20 feet, you'd say?
Yeah.
That's what
Yeah.
you'd said earlier?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. And you also described it about 10 to 15 steps away.
Yeah, from the front of from my door to the front of his door seam was probably about 20 steps.
Did you have a relatively good view of the cab of the vehicle, the inside of the vehicle?
No, I didn't.
Okay. All right. What did you notice, or what did you see once I'm assuming you put it in park.
Yeah.
Your
Roger.
patrol vehicle in park. Okay. And what did you do next?
I exited my vehicle. There was a lot of dust. The ground is very dry there. There's a lot of dust and debris in the air from the crash, from the spin out.
Mm-hmm.
I exited my vehicle, and I began to advance on the driver's side of the suspect vehicle, ordering him to put his hands up and show me his hands.
And did you have your gun drawn at that time?
Yes, I did.
What were you wearing?
Full DBPD Class B uniform.
Okay. With a badge and insignia and
Yep.
all that
Yep.
stuff. I would
Yes, sir.
imagine.
Yep.
Okay. All right. And what happened next, or what did you notice next?
At that point, the first thing I noticed was his eyes. His eyes got real big.
Okay.
And then the next thing I know, he's got a gun out the window, leveled at me.
So he had his driver's side window down.
Yes.
Okay, and he pointed a gun at you through the window. Is that right?
Correct. He never opened up the door.
Okay. You'd said earlier before we went on tape that you noticed a lot of movement inside the cabin
By him.
by him.
By
Okay.
him. There was a lot of movement, yeah.
All right. Okay. So and
Can you describe the movement? I know you showed some hand motions, but off tape, just for the record, with people.
He was, it looked like he was fumbling with something, even if we hadn't been on edge with the whole gun thing, there was a lot of stuff in a police officer, in my mind, that this guy was moving with just above his waistline, and his shoulders were going back and forth, and he was looking at me, and it looked like he was fumbling with something just below his chest bone.
okay.
But you couldn't see his hands at this point. That's why you're giving the command.
Correct.
And at this point, had you noticed anybody else in the vehicle?
No, I was focused on him.
Okay. Can you describe him at that point in time?
A Hispanic-looking male with a round face,
All right.
and that's, I mean,
You also said short hair.
yeah, short hair.
And what was specifically about his eyes?
His eyes were huge. They were just, I noticed his eyes were just big, noticeable, not naturally big, but just like excited big. you
Okay.
know.
Right. All right. And then what happened? So he pulled a gun out. What can you describe the gun?
It looked like an old revolver, like an old West gun. It was a revolver. It seemed to be, it looked big then. It looked like to be a big gun.
Okay. And you spent some time talking about your thoughts, your level of excitement, your emotions at that point.
At that point, the gun came out. It was leveled right at me, out the door, out the window, and I felt like at that point I felt my life was in danger. Like I was about ready to be shot, and I felt like it was a kill or be killed situation for me.
Were you wearing any body armor?
Yes, I was.
Okay.
Your thought.
What did you tell him to do, or what happened next?
Of course I was screaming, get his hands up.
Okay.
At that point, again, fearing for my safety, I went ahead and shot at the vehicle, or shot at him.
Okay. You mentioned earlier that you had told him to drop the gun. In between telling him to get his hands up, he produces the handgun, and then you ordered him to drop the gun.
Yeah.
Is that correct?
It was a quick order. Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Just for the record, I'm not providing these answers to you. These are notes that I made earlier. I just want to make sure that we cover everything that was discussed
Yes,
before.
sir. Yeah.
All And then you described that it was approximately 2 seconds between the time that you were challenging him to drop the gun until you eventually pulled the trigger on your duty weapon.
Correct.
Okay. How many times did you fire at? We know him now to be Marvin Jones, so I'm going to say Marvin Jones. How long did you, or how many rounds did you?
Anywhere from 4 to 8 rounds, I would say.
All right. And what happened?
At that point, as I was falling down, there was off the curb. I was coming up on the driver's side of the vehicle. Right after I started to shoot at the suspect, I rolled my ankle off the curb, and when I fell down. As I was falling down, I was looking at the suspect, and he still had the gun leveled at me. And at that point, I saw at least 3 muzzle flashes.
Okay.
As I was falling down, my weapon jammed up.
Okay.
I distinctly remember hearing rounds hit around me on the pavement. I don't know.
Did you feel any kick, any dirt being kicked up, or
No.
concrete
No.
or gravel?
No.
Okay. All right. Did you shoot any more rounds while you were down on the ground?
2. At least 2 more,
Okay.
at which point my weapon jammed.
All right. And that's when you cleared the malfunction on your gun by dropping the magazine, cycling it, and then putting a fresh magazine. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay.
At that point, the suspect had put the gun back in the vehicle and put the car in drive, did a U-turn to his right away from me, and
To his right?
to his right.
So the vehicle.
So he went this
Yes.
this
he
way?
went around this way.
Okay.
Yeah.
So he's traveling in the he's traveling east in the westbound lane.
Well, I mean, he jumped the curb again.
Okay.
Immediately went back into his correct lanes. Yes.
Okay, and then got back over to the eastbound lane.
Yep, and
okay.
then proceeded eastbound.
All right. And was there any other officers at that first scene? that you noticed?
Officer Pearsall and Officer Dill
Okay.
had they had just gotten there as the exchange of gunfire or shortly thereafter.
Okay. Did you know if you'd struck him, the vehicle, or do you know where any of your rounds went during that exchange of gunfire?
No, I don't.
Okay. You'd mentioned something that you relayed to Officer Dill and Pearsall sometime during that time frame before you guys were back eastbound following the subject.
As I got up and ran back to my vehicle, I could see their faces, and they were kind of like, "What just happened?" You know what I mean? And I told them the motherfucker he just shot at me.
Okay. All right, and then what happened next?
At that point, we all got into our vehicles. They were still by the driver's door, but we all got to our vehicles.
Could you place where they're at on here?
No.
No. Okay.
No,
if you can't, then don't.
They were on a line here behind me.
About how far away would you say they were?
I would say 25 or 30 feet behind me.
Okay.
Their vehicles.
Did they pull off into the median? Were they in the eastbound lane, the westbound lane?
Eastbound. I think one of them, maybe Dill, was in the eastbound lane, and Pearsall might have been right next to him.
Okay. All right. Did it sound as though they heard you when you said that?
Yeah.
Did they acknowledged
Yeah.
it or anything?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay, so you all got back in your vehicles and you're eastbound. What happens next?
At that point, Officer Dill, I remember it clear as day, he asked for permission to chase the vehicle. The lieutenant gave us permission. We went ahead and followed him. He wasn't, like I said, the tire was flat. His rear tire was flat. He wasn't getting over 25 miles an hour without
Okay.
losing control of the vehicle. So our speeds never excelled over 25 or 30 miles an hour.
Okay. Who was? Give us the order in which the vehicles were
It was-
as they were eastbound on Richard Petty.
Dill, me, and then Pearsall, I believe.
With the suspect vehicle?
Yeah, suspect vehicle. Dill was in the front. I was behind Dill, and Pearsall was in the rear.
Okay. What were your observations going around that curve there?
There was absolutely no control by the suspect vehicle. He had no control of that vehicle.
Okay.
There was a lot of as I made the corner, I noticed a lot of lights on in the Embry-Riddle campus, and I also noticed a lot of people around.
Okay.
There was a lot of students around on the baseball field and the soccer field. Yeah. So at that point, the vehicle was violently going back and forth. Kind of, you could see it was, he'd go one way and then he'd come back right. And it was at that point I noticed another body in the vehicle, another person.
A couple things. What was the significant? So you're saying the area was well populated at that time of night?
Yeah.
All right. And what was your concerns with that?
Well, it's a college campus, and there's students everywhere.
Okay.
So the general, obviously the general public was in danger of this guy's driving, first of all, and second of all, he's got a gun in his hand.
Okay. So you had mentioned before that with that in mind, you were wanting to maybe even what we call PIT, precision mobilization technique.
Correct.
On the suspect vehicle.
Correct.
Were you directly behind him at that time, or was Dill in front of you still?
I ended up passing Dill.
Okay.
And to get in behind him, the suspect vehicle, yes.
Okay. All right. So you passed Dill.
Yeah.
And is that when you noticed there was the other occupant because of the swing, or you noticed that before you passed Dill?
Both.
Okay.
Both. I mean, it was I was really close to Dill, and he was kind of close to that suspect vehicle. Mm-hmm. So it was very clear that that there was two heads in there, bobbing back and forth.
Okay. All right, and so Richard Petty then turns more in the south, maybe southeast direction, towards what we determined unofficially to be called Flight Line Road. What happened next?
At that point, he made the right-hand turn on the Flight Line Road.
Okay.
And lost control of the vehicle once again, striking a tree in a row of tree line, like a tree line, a palm tree in a row of trees.
Okay.
On the side of the road.
All right. Then what?
He exited the vehicle, swung the door open, exited the vehicle, and began to run up that tree line to the south.
This indicates north, so yeah, that would
Yeah,
be south, right?
Which door did he exit from?
The driver's door.
Okay. Did you notice anybody else or any other movements at that moment in time?
No, I didn't.
Okay.
I didn't. I was focused on him.
All right. So were you the first person to pull in on Flight Line Road behind the Lincoln?
As far as I can remember, yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. And what happened next?
At that point, I saw him running. I saw clearly the gun was in his hand, clear as day.
Which hand?
His right hand.
Okay.
He was running with that in his hand. At that point, I jumped the curb, got up on the grass line, and I struck the suspect with the front of my vehicle.
Intentionally?
Yes.
Okay. All right. And where did he strike or make contact with your
In this
patrol car?
passenger side of the vehicle, passenger side front, probably more toward the middle, but
Okay.
in that one side. Yep.
All right. And what was the result of that?
He rolled up onto the hood, and then as I hit the brakes, he rolled off. I no more than got the car in park, and he was on his feet again and facing me.
Were you surprised that he'd gotten up?
Very surprised. I thought it was over. I thought we were done. I thought, I neutralized this guy for whatever reason, whatever. He had broke, whatever the damage was done as I hit him, that I thought we were done with this. That he was going to give up, or that he was at least injured enough to say, okay, I give up, or whatever.
Okay. But pretty quickly you explained that he got up after you struck him with your patrol car, and what happened next?
I'm not going to say got up. He sprung up. He jumped up.
Okay.
Probably within a foot of my front bumper. So all of a sudden, it wasn't like I was watching him get up. He just appeared out of nowhere. With the gun leveled at me through my windshield once again when I was sitting in the vehicle. Okay. So I was still seated, putting the car in park and getting ready to get out to see what his status was, what he was, if he was done or whatever, or incapacitated. And then at that point is when he sprung up.
Okay. And what did he do what did you notice next?
The gun, he was leveled the gun off at me.
Was it the same gun that you noticed at what we call crime scene 1 earlier?
Yes.
And also the same gun that was in his hand as he was running before you struck him?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
And you described that as what kind of gun did you shoot?
It was like an old West revolver type of thing.
Okay.
It was I think it kind of had a longer barrel on it, and it was just, something that you would see out of the old West.
Okay. What did you do in response to that?
I began shooting at him through my windshield.
About how many times?
5 times.
Do you know if any of your bullets, your rounds, hit him?
I do not. Okay. At that point, I don't. I just remember seeing them starting to run.
Okay. You'd indicated earlier that you're also kind of looking away a little bit in an effort to shield your eyes.
Yeah.
Because why? Because you said you were shooting through your windshield.
I was still seated in the vehicle.
Okay.
And as I leaned to get out, that's when I was kind of looking over toward the passenger side. As I leaned to get out, that's when I drew my weapon back out of my holster, and there was just no time to do anything else but shoot at him.
Okay. What happened after you shot at him?
At that point, he turned his back to me and started to run. I exited my vehicle, came around the front of the vehicle. He probably ran 15 feet. And he turned back. As he was running away, he turned his upper torso, with his arm extended back to me, with a gun still in his hand, and shot at me again.
Did he also look back at you? Like, did he see that he was pointing in your general direction,
Yes.
or was he still facing forward? Just
both.
Okay.
Both. I mean, at first he was pointed. He's looking right at me, pointing right back at me, and then he would point. He would put his head back forward again. See where he's running, then point, and then back.
Okay. And all this is what you'd indicated with the red marker on this
Yep.
satellite image before.
Right. Yep.
Okay. So he rounds this corner, and he's heading in more of a general north direction through the parking lot,
Yep.
with his arm extended straight back and shooting at you.
Yes.
You remember seeing muzzle flash or hearing the reports of the discharge? Or?
I do remember seeing muzzle flashes.
Okay. Did you hear it also, or you just saw the muzzle
I
flash?
heard it too, as well. Yes, sir.
So you heard and saw him shooting a gun at you?
Yes, sir.
All right. And what were you doing? You mentioned that you took some particular action right here at the corner where that tree is?
Well, as he was shooting at me, I took at least 4 to 6, maybe 3 to 4. I forget. It was no more than 4 suppression type shots. Meaning, when you say suppression type shots, meaning they weren't really aimed. They were going in his general direction, but it was more to get him to stop shooting at me.
Okay. And is that because you were out in the open and then you later thought to get by the tree?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
All right.
Yep. That was because I made the corner and I'm almost out here by the curb where there's 15 or 20 feet to the tree.
Okay.
So as I thought about moving to the tree, that's when I laid down some suppression fire at him.
Okay. All right. What happened once you did that?
He turned around and basically concentrated on running. I could see him kind of lean forward and get and really start running.
Okay.
At that point, it was I took at least 8 to 10 calculated shots, at him, trying to get it to neutralize him.
Were you stationary or were you advancing?
I was advancing.
All right. Around that point of time is when you said that you noticed the other officers on scene. Is that
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
What did you notice about them?
As I started to advance and as I started to pop off rounds at him, start shooting rounds at him, I heard other gunshots from my right.
Okay.
I didn't see anything. I didn't hear it. I didn't see anything, or all I did was heard the pop, pop, pop.
About how many?
6 probably.
Okay. All right, and then what happened next?
At that point, the suspect dropped to the ground and dropped the weapon. The weapon landed probably 5 feet in front of him.
Okay. What did you do once he fell to the ground?
I dropped my mag, put a fresh one in, and continued to advance on him.
All right, and what was he doing at the time? What describe him?
He was kind of laying on his stomach, on his right side, kind of hunched up on his stomach, and I could hear him, yelling and moaning.
Okay.
Let me back him up real quick. Why did you drop your mag and change it at that point in time?
It's a tactical technique that we use in case there's another gunfight that I know I've got a fresh mag in.
Okay.
Where was his hands were kind of, you say he was bunched up, and you're kind of showing us, but just for the tape, is his hands are kind of tucked underneath him a little bit?
Correct. He's on his stomach, kind of almost on the side, on the feet in the fetal position, and his arms are tucked up underneath him.
Okay.
So they're all locked up. Either he's grabbing his chest or he's grabbing something on the front of him.
Okay. All right, and then what happened next? What'd you do?
At that point, I went ahead and I kneeled on his back, and I placed the muzzle of my weapon in the back of his neck and told him, "Look, let me see your hands. Put your hands up." And he was telling me he was shot and that that he really couldn't do it. And I said, "Dude," I talked very calm to him, "Brother, let me see your hands. Put your hands up a little bit, so I can see them." And at that point, he kind of, not fully, but was able to get his hands just above his shoulders so I could see him.
Okay. What did you notice about his condition?
He was bleeding.
Okay.
Yeah, out of breath. He was gasping.
Okay. What did he say? What else did he say to you? Anything else?
He told me that I had shot his pregnant girlfriend.
Okay. What was your response?
I told him that because he was shooting at me.
Did you shoot his pregnant girlfriend?
Not on purpose, no. No, I didn't shoot his pregnant girlfriend.
Okay. What else did he say to you?
He told me that he wanted I should have just killed him, that he wanted to die.
Okay. And did you say something in response to that?
No. He straight up told me that he wanted me to kill him.
Okay.
And I remember, I probably had a wise ass comment or whatever, but, basically that probably to the effect of, well, not today. It's not going to happen today.
Mm-hmm.
So.
All right. What's the next thing you remembered?
I remember Officer Carter saying, I'm here. At that point, I got off of him, and Carter handcuffed him.
Okay. Anything? I'm sure lots of things took place later. Anything else of significance after that? As far as, what I meant by a lot of things took place is I'm sure there was a lot of crime scene tape put up and everything else, but...
No, I distinctly remember there was, I don't want to say panic on the radio, but, I distinctly remember grabbing the radio and going, okay, everybody shut up. We got 2 down. All officers are okay. We need to ambulance code 3. We need rescue code 3.
Okay.
So, that was it.
Any other statements by anybody else, any of the other officers, or did you ever talk to the woman in the front passenger seat or hear anything that she said or anything else of significance?
No, I never talked to her at all.
Okay. Agent Kraft? Mr. Lambert? Do you have anything else you want to add before we terminate the tape?
No, sir.
Okay. All right, it is 2:22 p.m.